Hey, everybody. Welcome to Entrepreneur Encounters again. I'm super excited to see you here. I'm Brent Afwas. I'm an entrepreneur coach and business catalyst, and I want to help you unleash your ability in your business and empower you to find the money, means, and mindset to get to the next level where you need to go. Today on Entrepreneur Encounters, I'm with Kevin Logan. You're going to be inspired by his story and how he's continued to reach out and grow his reach to become global. But before we go there, I want to talk about why Entrepreneur Encounters. I believe that all of us as entrepreneurs, we cannot do this alone. We need to have other people. We need to learn other folks' stories. And I think we need to talk to entrepreneurs who are in process just like us. We can all learn from each other. And that's why I'm bringing folks on. So without any further ado, I want to go ahead and invite Kevin to join the show. Welcome, Kevin. Thanks for coming on.
Hey Brent, how you doing, man? Just love your enthusiasm there at the entrance, man. My goodness.
I know, if I flip a switch when the recording's going, it's time to get it on. So with that in note, why don't you tell us about yourself and about your business?
About me. I'm just somebody who gets up every day and embraces the gift that's been given to us. I'm a believer to go out and just treat every day like that gift that you always wanted. Pull a wrapping paper off, dig into the box, whether it's a small box, or a huge box with, multiple things in it, or something with just that single item in it. Both have value. And so that's what I stand on. That's what I base my actions on every day. Every day, I believe we can wake up. Let's get up. Let's get up. Let's be up. And let's do the things that are a stretch above what we would normally be doing. I've just taken my experiences and tried to bring them forth and forward and make them. I can't do everything every day, but I try to make sure that those are the foundational components that propel me and create a launch pad for forward mobility.
Awesome. Why did you want to become an entrepreneur? Why not just continue down the path you were on? What made you take that turn and say, I think I want to do this for myself?
Well, honestly, I was forced into it. At my goal was to work that 25, 30 years and then retire. But somebody else had a different plan where my services were no longer needed after 22 years. And it was like, okay, bye. But all along, since I was in elementary school, and I had to think about this in something else that someone had asked me in another interview, and I didn't give this answer. I had forgotten in elementary school. I grew up in apartments, but I used to walk over to the housing developments and sell flower seeds to individuals. Now, my grandparents had a house, but at the time we didn't have a house. And so I would knock on the door where I saw somebody had plants and flowers out and say, would you want to sell my seeds? I can't tell you how many no's I got. I believe a couple of people just felt sorry for me on that one Saturday and just went on and bought them. But I had forgotten about that. And so throughout the years, unbeknownst to me, I've been exposed to entrepreneurship. I am the first generation who, out of three generations, who did not drive a taxi cab. My father refused to let us. I had this great idea. Oh, we're gonna get a fleet of cabs and we're gonna do this in the Washington metropolitan area. And he was like, no, you're not. He didn't say no to too many things, but he said, no, you're not. He said, we drove cabs because so you all would not have to. I am the fourth generation coming from a farming family, and the generation before me, they did not farm. They knew how to, and that's why they did not do it because they didn't want to. I was exposed to it as growing up as a little boy to see the things that were going on, but I didn't understand the economics and the dynamics of the farm. I didn't know that when I went and got the eggs that they were being sold. I didn't realize that all those gardens out there, they produced for the family and then they sold to other people. But then, for those who could not afford it, things were given to them. So along the way, I experienced those things. But again, the more you do, the more you forget what you've done, and you just stay in the mix. So it was just reflection time that let me know that you've done a lot of things that contributed to it. And so when my services were no longer needed, I said, what do I have that's of value that someone would be willing to, pay, and they would see as being valuable to them.
So what are some of those choices you need to make? Because it was ultimately, do I go and get another job, maybe using some of my skills there, or because that's almost always what we're told, our first instinct. Probably when you told your friends, they're like, well, when are you going to get another job? Like, what's the next step?
The no's, the no's are falling into that category of, the truthfulness of ageism, the truthfulness of biases that exist out there. And so when you're able to have these really rich conversations with individuals, and then you see the person on the other side that's, almost, the age of your children, and you say, wait a minute, you're telling me no for something that I know that I'm more than qualified for. And so getting the no's said, you know what, why don't I take this direction and see what I can put together to culminate something that could be not just worthwhile for me, but viable to those to whom I serve.
Yeah, no, that I think that makes a lot of sense. How do you identify the problems that you want to solve? When your business was out there, there's probably a wide range that you could attack with your 22 years of experience. How did you dial in on what problem you wanted to solve and how you could be most effective?
I'm gonna be real transparent here. Get your feelings hurt. I would go to these different, yeah, man, I would go to these different events and seminars, and I'm thinking, okay, I got a background in telecom and IT, some networking, and I'm like, I'm hearing all these other terms that I can't even come to grips with that people are talking about. And so, walking up to, hey, how you doing? I'm Kevin. I do consulting. Business development and this, that, and the other. And then I'm just seeing all this widespread stuff that came about, and I'm like, that's not what I do. I talk to individuals. I find out, where your pain points are, and then I figure out. I don't really have an off the shelf type thing to go to. I've got things I can go to, but it's not one size fits all. That was my struggle point. So my identification was, I learned, is to get into a conversation with individuals who valued having a conversation. If you didn't value the conversation, then you weren't my client. And I didn't know that at the time. I wanted to make everybody my client. So I was trying to, make the shoe fit and, do all types of things, walk with the limp because the shoe's too tight, whatever it took. And then that got painful.
Yeah. So then, but you've been in this for, I mean, a dozen, 15 years. You've been in it for a while on your own. So how have you adapted as you've come along? Because, technology, that's a field that's amazing to be in, but you also got to be up on the game because it keeps changing too.
It changes very rapidly. And I had to embrace my truth of, I wasn't staying on top of the technology to the point where I was when I was with corporate. So therefore, what did I know? I know the logistics of technology. That really doesn't change. It's kind of like an oil change. An oil change is an oil change. Although, the vehicle used to go every 2,000 miles. Now some vehicles can go, 5 or 7. And so I went to the foundational components there. And I also did that with the things that the other knowledge that I had. It's like, what are the foundational things that I know that may not change, that I enjoy developing? Because you can't evolve in all of it by yourself. You have to bring in teams. So by myself, I identified and segmented those particular things that I wanted to focus on, those things that are my gifts. I believe that everybody is born with a gift. And whether you choose to use it or not is completely up to you. But if you use it and you give of that gift, you will never run out of that gift. The other skills and talents, those are things that we acquire, and we may be excellent at them, but that's different from a gift that we're, born with innately.
Yeah. How do you stay, like, what are some tips that you had during your career to stay on top of your industry, to keep, as much as, you know, the oil changes haven't changed, there's still some necessity to stay on top of your industry. And I think that continuous learning aspect can be so important to entrepreneurs. So what do you do to stay on top of your industries?
Leverage the correct way. And for everybody, this is going to be different. Whether it's people say, well, join professional organizations, this, that, and the other. Those are great, fine. But you have to work those. You just can't join them and say, okay, well, I joined, so now I'm going to be getting leads, I'm going to be making money, I'm getting clients. No, you have to participate. You have to have boots on the ground. And so whether that is going to the meetings, whether it's spearheading a committee, working on something, and one of the most important things is the ask, asking for what it is. I'm looking for clients in this, in that. People can give you clients, but all money isn't good money. So it's the caliber of client. And that's not to say that the individual today that isn't your client won't be your client tomorrow. So you have to leverage those relationships in who you're working with, who you want to work with, what other benefits may come with a relationship. And it's a give and take. You shouldn't be there. My mindset is, don't always come to eat. Come prepared to serve at the feast as well.
Right on. I think if we're in a giving mindset, I really feel like that's one of the huge pieces that can set apart really successful entrepreneurs. And why I think, by the way, it's important to go out and talk to other entrepreneurs, because those who have something to give, they tend to be givers. And so if you ask them, you'll be like, well, why is someone going to share their story with me? Because they're givers. That's why. So take that into account and know that some of these folks who are successful, they have that same attitude. And I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about some of the obstacles and roadblocks that came up along the way, because perseverance to me is probably the main attribute that we have to have if we're going to be successful. You touched on some of them, a lot of no's, getting your feelings hurt a little bit. Touch on a few other obstacles and roadblocks you've run into.
And some of my more formal interviews for positions, and especially with entrepreneurship, I would say the word passion. And what I came to find out is individuals who hired for the positions and they never were an entrepreneur, they didn't really embrace the passion. They put passion off as, you ain't got to be passionate about it. Passion is the forefront. It's the apron on the train. It's the plow in front of the truck, because that means that you will get up at times other people aren't going to get up. You will stay up in times when other people aren't going to stay up. And so having a passion for what you're doing, having a true love and a desire for it, that's the thing that you're thinking about. And also learn, though, you have to be around the right people, because when you're thinking about it and that's your love, you're going to start talking about it. And sometimes you're going to turn some people off. They're going to be like, oh God, here he comes again talking about that. I don't want to hear about that anymore. But that's when you know that you're passionate about it. And that's when you know you've got the right thing. And that's that diamond in the rough. That's when you need to start really looking at whatever it is you're doing and blowing the dust off of it from different angles to see, what is it that I may be missing? Those become the keys and the triggers for, well, you know what? He's talking about this an awful lot, and these people keep saying I'm talking about it a lot. Let me delve into this a little bit more to see what I may not see manifesting as much as I think, or vice versa. Because it may lead you someplace else. Just something that you haven't thought about.
Yeah, so true. That pivot, that change, that not all of us stay in the spot where we started. In fact, I would say most of us don't stay in that spot where we started. We keep moving.
Oh, by no stretch of imagination. And that's the beauty of it, is starting off someplace, moving someplace else that you don't know about, and then becoming aware of where you are, saying, I'm here, but I started there. Now, some people go back and say, no, I want this, this, this. Other people say, you know what, I'm gonna take that other place along with me, because there's something there that I may not understand. And we've heard it millions of times, this is not what I projected to be. I didn't start off doing this. This just came out of the blue, but it came because individuals were doing something. So yeah, that was a really long way to get to it. For me, it's really about passion, and we can mix that with some different things. But if you're passionate about what you're doing, that's going to move you forward.
Love it. We talk about empowering an entrepreneur encounters. We talk about empowering entrepreneurs to find means. So talk to us a little bit about some of the means and resources that you had to figure out how to gather and leverage in order to be successful where you're at today.
We read a lot about the different things that successful people do. One of the most important things that for means and resources is you have to be an open book, and you have to open a book. And it doesn't matter what the book is, but the words on the page begin to become ingredients to an individual's success. Libraries they're full of all this beautiful information, and just going and getting, yeah, we have the internet information technology, yes, but get some type of information toward yourself that can help empower you to move forward. What we're doing now, a conversation, having questions, answering them, and then sometimes thinking about them, and then sometimes saying, wow, I never really thought about that too much. But having that afterthought to say, okay, you know what, this is that pivotal thing that I may not have thought about. So investing in yourself. How do you want to invest in yourself? And most importantly, what will you be consistent in investing in yourself with? It's great that, people say, oh, some people read a book a week. I'm not, I would love to say I read a book a week. No, I'm not. I'm lying. I can't read a book a week. So one of my strategies for that is I keep 2 books on my desk. And every morning I read one page only. If my morning frees up and it gives me all this availability, I'm like, oh, I can read a whole chapter. No, I digest 1 page from each book at a time. That's enough information. And then my goal for the day is, how can I apply what I've read throughout this day?
That's good stuff. Who's your, talk to me about community, because I think people are the other part of resources that we miss out. And some folks know more or different people than others, but I believe that all of us entrepreneurs are connected with someone in some way that makes a big impact. So talk a little bit about your community and some of the support and help you've gotten along the way with them.
Like-minded individuals and individuals that understand entrepreneurship. When you're out here by yourself and alone, getting paid is rough, and individuals will put you on a 45, 60-day payment. It's hard to survive like that when you really don't have the funds at hand. And so asking those questions, saying, up front, what is your experience with, working with individuals who are, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, or what have you, and then understanding, them understanding and you understanding what you're getting into. If they just set the bar and say, hey, this is it, you either take it or leave it, well, that's a heck of a decision to make. Take it or leave it. All money isn't good money. You have to count the cost. We've all heard this growing up is, count the cost. Our parents told us that. Then in business, it's really, what is it going to cost you to really engage and do this? And so your community, that goes back to the organizations that you're a part of. Entrepreneurs Encounters is one of my organizations that I'm tied to. We have some very rich, robust, transparent conversations. It all doesn't work. And we speak candidly about, I'm trying this, but that's not seeming to work. And we get input from one another. Creating your own community. you know, sadly, the pandemic took a lot of loved ones, but it also allowed us to connect via these platforms in ways that we hadn't done before. So who else is out here existing globally where you can connect? And the beauty of it is somebody is just waking up and somebody could be just going to bed. But the value that we're able to connect now is just, you know, out of this world.
Yeah, you know, I'm reminded when you say that you have probably had something similar, especially with the telecom background in the early 2000s when you wanted to get a hold of people from, you know, Europe and Asia at the same time. You were on a satellite call and walking into the office at 4 a.m.
Yes.
in order to get everyone, and that's not necessary anymore with the technology. So it's a great asset, and we should use it and continue to stay up on it.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, you know, we need to embrace technology is beautiful. And that's why I like it and I enjoy it so much. We can become our own anything. We can become our own producers. We don't have to wait for someone to produce a show for us. We can stand up anything we want to on any type of platform we choose to. So we won't go nationwide, you know, and come out at the movie theater or on the local channel. But we can, if it's news we like, and that's what we want to do, then we can become producers of it. We can, you know, put this content out there. We can author it ourselves. We don't have to wait for someone else's approval to do it.
For sure. How have you persevered? It's a long time. We've talked about that, and the time. If people feel like I'm sort of going on about the time, they're sort of like dog years sometimes. When you're in business by yourself, you've got to figure out when to pivot. You've got to know how to pivot. You've got to keep culturing new and different clients. So how have you persevered?
Yeah, the persevering part is you've got to be truthful with yourself. When things aren't working, you've got to say, am I going to continue in this? Or am I going to just stop it right now and maybe consider something else? Talking to other people. I tell, you know, one suggestion, I don't tell people a lot of things. I suggest, one of my main suggestions is have a meeting with yourself on a regular basis. People put themselves on our calendar. You know, we scheduled this call and this time. But I've got a few phone calls today where people just kind of call me, you know, and it was for good reason, but they didn't send an email or say, you know, can I call you at this time? Is this good for you? But we need to put ourselves on our schedule to really reflect daily. I think that's part of the morning. And some people it's part of the evening to be able to do something like that. And then what are the things that are around you? I'm pretty sure if you showed us your office and I showed you mine, it looks clean on screen, and it was just great. But I've got sticky notes all around of words of encouragement and things that just come to mind that keep me going and moving, that help me to persevere through. One thing very quickly, many years ago, I was trying to just move towards a different direction, exploring things. I was taking meetings with different people. I had this meeting with someone who told me the truth, and it hurt. He said, how are you going to compete consulting? He said, man, we get money from the government every year. He said, you know, so how are you going to really compete with that? I appreciated him saying that, although it didn't feel good. And I remember leaving that meeting saying, wow, all he has to do is wake up every morning and he's paid, you know, he's funded and everything. I'm out here scratching. And I sat in the parking lot and I said, you know what? I'm done. Maybe I just need to just not do this anymore. Let me just go back and figure out what industry I want to go into. And as a person of faith, I said, you know, I'm gonna pray about this. And as I was pulling out that parking lot, I believe my prayers were answered. It was like, you know, yeah, how are you going to compete? You're not here to compete. There's so many people out here competing, but no one's completing what they've started. Mm-hmm. From that day on, I said, okay, if this is meant to be, I am going to now work to complete the things that are left undone. My goal isn't to compete with anyone. If you think I'm competing with you, then we're not to work together or partner, maybe later on. But right now, I am here to complete the things that are left undone. And whether that's through my coaching, whether that's through my consulting, whether that's through my teaching, workshop, whatever, what can I do to help complete this?
Oh, that is so solid. That's a great takeaway. We're not here to compete. We need to complete. So that's a great piece that differentiates you. You've got that world map up behind you. I see it. I know you're getting some global reach now. Tell us a little bit about your brand, how you want customers to perceive you. This is your time it's commercial time. Go ahead.
I just want to be Kevin. My thing, I had to look back and find out what were the foundational components of me. What were the skills that I learned, not my gifts. I'm just talking the skills, the training that enabled me to do a job for that number of years where another organization paid me and they saw value in it. And so mine is to connect, communicate, and discover. These maps back here, I cannot take credit for it. My wife said, you're not going to be on a plain background, so you're going to put something back there. And so this, here comes, there are the maps. And it's interesting. I wasn't even thinking about it that way. But 2 years ago, I said I wanted my reach to go beyond just, my region here on the East Coast. I want to spread a call across the country. I want to spread across the world. And it's been a slow progression. But I actually, one morning, I said, wait a minute, I'm getting ready to have a call, with another company. I'm getting ready to engage across the waters. I'm now across the country having conversations. I now have to differentiate between, okay, what time zone are you in? What time zone am I in? That's the growth that just kind of sneaks up on you when you're just really in it and working and putting forth the effort. And so those little things I think they should be celebrated. And I would be one to say, I don't celebrate the little milestones and achievements all the time. I just keep going because again, my existence and my reason for doing it is really not all about me. It's bigger than me. It's about the inclusiveness of other individuals. And so, being able to just be part of someone else's success and even their rebirthing is really important. As we hit the different milestones in life, some things, it's not that we can't do it, it's that I'm just making a decision that I no longer want to do this physical aspect of it. I'll manage it and grow it and maybe help somebody else to do it.
I love it. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for the time today. We loved having you on. Everyone, it's Kevin Logan with FSJ Enterprises. If you liked what you heard here, and Kevin referenced this, if you want to be part of our Entrepreneur Encounters, Wednesdays, 4:30 Central Time, do find out about us, bit.ly/Entrepreneur Encounters. That's bit.ly/Entrepreneur Encounters. Do look us up, find out what we've got going on. It is a wonderful opportunity, as Kevin said. People come on, they're transparent. We've all got challenges and an opportunity both to build into other entrepreneurs who are on that journey and to be built into, which is absolutely amazing. This show would not be possible without some sponsors, so I've definitely got to let you know about them. Andrew Feller Photography, Buckethead Creative, Charlie's Music Factory, and Milwaukee Web Design. So I'm Brent Afwasson. I'm super happy that you came on and wanted to be a part of this. And we're going to go see if we can find Chris and have him take us out here. Thanks a lot for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next time. If you like what you heard, do please subscribe or follow us on some of our other long form threads. Thanks.